The views and opinions expressed by the guest author or speaker during this live session are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of Reader's Magnet. The content shared is for informational purposes only and does not constitute endorsement or promotion of any particular belief, ideology, or product.
Hello, authors, book lovers, and storytellers. Welcome to another awesome day here with us at RM Hive. You're tuning into Reader's Magnet's featured author interview. And with me today, my name is Revan, your host, and with me today is our special guest. She is a trauma therapist, public speaker, and author. And she began her professional career working in adult and youth corrections, where she noticed a disproportionate number of male in the system. After becoming a Royal Canadian Mounted Police officer, she developed an interest in investigating sex crimes, especially those directed at children. She runs a private practice working with male survivors of abuse. Everyone, let's welcome the author of 2 books, Men Too, Unspoken Truths About Male Sexual Abuse, and Speaking the Truth in Love, A Mother's Guide to Keeping Her Son Safe. Let's welcome Dr. Kelli Palfy. Hi, Dr. Kelli. How are you? Thank you for joining us here today.
Well, thank you, Revan. Thank you for this opportunity. This is great.
Yes. And first of all, I would like to commend you for having these 2 books, by the way. So these books, I have actually checked them and read both of them at the same time, but not all of them, just some of them. So these are actually great books, and they have the stand, which is the awareness of the sexual abuse that happen in men.
Yes.
So
boys and men.
Yes, boys and men, because it's for boys and men, it's actually very difficult for men to actually talk about this, and you understood it and you've had it in your books. And it's not only one, there are 2 books, and one of them is for the mothers who wants to protect their sons as well. So that's amazing. And first, let's talk about this one book first, so called From Men Too. Men Too, so Unspoken Truths About Male Sexual Abuse. So I actually love the cover and how you wrote Men Too.
Thank you. Not everybody sees that.
Yes, I've noticed that. So it has the Me Too there, but has letter N above it. Loved it, actually.
Thank you.
So when I was doing some marketing for your book, I was like, I want to interview this author. And then here we go. I got chosen to interview you. And I just really want to say that. That's genius, by the way. So
thank you, Evan. Yeah.
And by the way, Dr. Kelli, what compelled you, both as a retired police officer and a psychologist, to focus specifically on the overlooked issue of male sexual abuse and bring 13 survivor stories to light?
Well, as the book shares, in 2004, I was a police lady working in the RCMP's first ICE unit, so first integrated child exploitation unit. And so we were where all of these crimes were being reported to. We were being inundated with unfortunately seized video evidence, and we were seeing that boys were being abused too, but we were not getting reports of it. When I checked, I was thinking in my head, I've never interviewed a man about being sexually abused. So I checked, we had very few reports about it. And so we set up a training seminar with he's a former NHL player. He was probably the first man to ever go public about his sexual abuse. We asked him if he would come speak to us, and he did. He came and did a training session for like a bunch of us seasoned sex crimes investigators. And he talked about, his name is Sheldon Kennedy. He played for the Chicago, he played for Detroit and Chicago and Calgary. Very good hockey player. But he talked about his abuse. He talked about how it started. He talked about why he didn't say anything sooner and all of the reasons he didn't share his story with people sooner. So it broke my heart. His reasons, they were so complex and so valid for a young boy. Like he talked about protecting his parents from this information that would gut them. His community was so proud of him. He had this opportunity to make it to the NHL, but his abuser was also his coach. So it was either I give up the abuse, I give up my career, or I allow this abuse to continue, the chance of becoming a pro hockey player. Plus the other thing was that his abuse, like the recognition all of that, somehow he was already making an income off of his ability to play hockey, and that was helping bring his family out of the poverty. So a lot of really adult decisions. He also said that he felt like his teammates' parents knew that he was being used and did nothing, and that just blew my mind. So all of these really valid reasons why he didn't disclose. He said he didn't think people would believe him. And I would say it was like God opened up my eyes. Like I had worked in corrections, and then all of a sudden I was like, oh my gosh, this is why there are so many men in prison. This is going on. And I saw the video evidence of it, and he's explaining why he turned to substances, and it was like the lights just went on for me. I saw this is why so many men are turning to substances. So when I left the RCMP, I had my own like trauma that I went through with PTSD, bullying and stuff. So it was like I took my entire messiness and tried to make sense of it. And as I was interviewing all the participants for my research, like I wanted to understand, like I knew Sheldon's reasons for not reporting, but I guess I should say my heart really broke for him. I wanted to do more, but I couldn't at that time because I was working with, these child files. I would say fast forward, I left the RCMP. Now I'm in school and I'm like, what am I going to research? I decided to research why are boys and men not reporting their sexual abuse, and then I wrote a book about it. Just really because I knew I could make a difference. I had seen it. I'm not embarrassed to talk about this. I'm a woman. This is back in 2004 when nobody talked about male sexual abuse, right? So I really wanted to just bring it to everybody's attention to sort of highlight that this was going on. This is why we have so many men in prison. This is why there's so much addiction, so many workaholics, why, men are struggling in silence and need our help. So I just knew I could make a difference. So I set my sights on doing that, and I did it. And it's been really, really, really good. It's been such a rewarding experience. Been the highlight of my career so far is doing that research and writing a book about it.
Yes. And I really want to thank you for that, because men actually have the difficulty to talk about it. And you're actually the voice of these people who had a very hard time to talk about it, because they might be ashamed that people will laugh at them. Because I have actually I've seen some news that this man was sexually abused, but this was on Facebook and people were just laughing.
Wow.
And it was a serious issue, but people are just laughing at him. That's why other male actually have the difficulty to talk about it as well. So thank you for being the voice of the men and the boys.
Thank you for saying that, Revan. And I'm not the only voice. There are other voices out there. There are other women. There are other men. So I'm grateful for them. I'm grateful it's not just me. But I had to make peace with, because to me I didn't really discover anything new, but I've had to make peace with what I did do, and I paint the picture of what's going on, right? Like any one thing in context might not paint the picture, but when you look at it, I have like an hour-long lecture that I give, and it just builds this picture, and I'm telling you, when I'm done, there's like not a dry eye in the house usually.
It's really nice. So in the book, male survivors are shown coping with various ways through isolation, substance use, hypermasculinity, and more. How do these coping mechanisms reflect on the barriers that keep men silent, and what changes them?
What changes the victim, or what breaks down the barriers?
So the barriers that keep the men silent, what changed the men?
Well, honestly, talking about it, making it safe for them to come forward, being a voice has helped change a lot of those barriers to make it safe. But yes, we still have a long ways to go. A lot of people just sort of accept these coping mechanisms. So what? A man's a workaholic. He's providing for his family. Or, oh, gee, he just must have turned to substances in his youth and got all caught up in that. People just accept them as normal ways of life, and they don't ask these hard questions often enough, right? So I'm really, especially in my second book, Speaking the Truth in Love, I'm really encouraging moms, we have to ask those tough questions. Don't just blame the victim for becoming addicted, and instead of supporting them, it just leads to more isolation and more use, right? So we need to start asking that question, like, what happened to you versus, so that's the kind of stuff that breaks down the barriers, is when we make it safe, when we talk. Like, I advertise that I work with male survivors of sexual abuse. So if anybody in my area of jurisdiction is looking for somebody who works with male sexual abuse, my name comes up, right?
Yes.
So I make it
Right.
safe for them to come talk.
Yes. It actually makes a difference when men have somewhere safe to talk to, or and someone to actually listen to them. And by the way, you've talked about your other book, so let's talk about it. It's called "Speaking the Truth in Love: A Mother's Guide to Keeping Her Son Safe." So your new guide addresses parents noticing sudden changes on their sons, such as aggression, isolation, or substance use. How should a mother begin to interpret these signs without jumping to conclusion and know when when the immediate intervention is necessary?
Well, I actually think sudden changes like what you described are really red flags. I think we do
Mm-hmm.
need to, again, ask those tough questions, right? So,
True.
again, make it safe for them to talk. Um, you know, uh, sorry, yeah. Yeah, just like, how should, you don't want to assume that whatever's going on is sexual abuse, but
Mm-hmm.
also we don't want to write that off, that it's not a possibility too. So, I would actually, if a mom were in that situation asking me that question, I would say, well, when was the last time he was acting normal? Like, what happened
Mm-hmm.
between, did he go away to camp? Did he go to practice? Was he alone with his
Mm-hmm.
coach? Was he at a
Yeah.
sleepover? Some of those things, right? So,
Yes.
and in my book, I talk about different ways to talk to boys depending on how old they are, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
and just, how to pick up on those clues, how to create a safe environment for them to want to
Mm-hmm.
disclose, and how to handle a disclosure when they do disclose. So, I do think sudden changes, like what you said, we do need to
Uh-huh.
pay attention to them. We do need to consider
True.
them pretty significant red flags. And unfortunately, a lot of moms just think, oh, he's hitting puberty. This is just the way he's changing. This is like a rite of passage kind of thing. But
Mm-hmm.
sudden changes, we need to pay attention to.
Yes. So we need to pay attention to the sudden changes.
Yep.
That's a really good message there from the
Well,
book.
because we know the statistic of how frequently sexual abuse is happening amongst young boys. Like, the
Mm-hmm.
research shows about 1 out of every 6 young males is sexually abused
Mm-hmm.
to some extent prior to the age of 16. But those of
Mm-hmm.
us that are in the field all consider that a very unreliable
Mm-hmm.
statistic, because so many don't report. So I actually think the statistics are just as, probably similar to girls and women, if not more, because it is
Mm-hmm.
such a hidden epidemic.
Yes. So, by the way, you address male victimization from both a survivor's viewpoint in your book, Meant to, and a parent's protective perspective in the other book, Speaking the Truth in Love. What common misunderstanding about male victims are you hoping both books help correct?
Well, that it isn't that common, right?
Mm-hmm.
For boys especially, that it is safe to talk about it, that people will
Yeah.
believe them, that kind of stuff, that,
Mm-hmm.
people will support them, that they're not the only one that it happened to, right? So, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of men don't hear other men talking about it, so they assume that they're the only person this has ever happened to. So just breaking down those myths, breaking down the lie that if you were a victim, you're going to become an abuser, that kind of stuff, right? The lie
Mm-hmm.
that they can't tell anybody, the lie that there's no help out
Yes.
there for them, the lie that they have to suffer alone, right? That people won't
Yes.
believe them or support them. So, yeah.
Yes. And and how was your experience as a former RCMP officer and trauma psychologist shaped your approach to both sharing survivor stories and guiding parents through recognizing and responding to abuse signs?
Well, I do, based on that experience, I was trained as a subject matter expert in the area of child
Mm-hmm.
sexual exploitation. So I do consider myself like an educator and an advocate
Yeah.
and, a therapist in this area too, right? So I teach male
Yes.
survivors themselves about, I teach them about what's going on for them, like the trauma responses that they might already have. I teach them how
Mm-hmm.
to cope with it. Excuse
Yes.
me. I teach them how to think differently about themselves. You're not weak, you're not flawed, you don't have anything written
Mm-hmm.
across your forehead, that kind of thing. And then also
Yeah.
educating parents about why so many boys are struggling, why so many boys stay silent, educating the police too. I've talked to police as well, and
Uh-huh.
just,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. So yeah, I consider myself an educator and an advocate.
Yes. And these books are actually really nice, especially for those people who do not know that these actually, the male sexual abuse actually happens. So it gives them enlightenment when they read this. So
Wow.
not only for the men, but for the female as well, like for the
Yes.
mothers, that it happens. That it
Wives.
exists.
Wives.
And wives, yes.
Why is
And
my
girlfriends,
husband so
yeah.
emotionally avoidant, right? Why does
Yes,
he turn robotic when we get intimate, you know? Well, maybe he's
true.
being triggered, yeah.
Yes. And right now, Dr. Kelly, I would like you to promote your book. I'm going to give the spotlight to you and promote your project. If you have projects as
Mhm.
well and your books to our audience, where we can find them.
Okay. Well, this is my first book, Men Too Speaking the Truth in
Hmm.
Love. And yeah, it was a play on the Me Too movement meant to say, hey,
Yeah.
don't forget about guys. So I love that you picked up on that. Lots of
Yeah.
people don't. Yeah, it's available on Amazon. It's meant to support male survivors so that they know they're not alone. They know that they're not the only person this ever happened to. There's lots of psychoeducational tidbits in there. You know, I
Hmm.
talk about different trauma definitions, like what might be going on for them. And
Yeah.
then, yeah, it's available on Amazon. My other book, Speaking the Truth in Love, A Mother's Guide to Keeping Her Son Safe. Yeah, it's actually got predator grooming techniques. It's got
Hmm.
warning signs of child sexual abuse. It's got, just warning signs a predator might be trying to
True.
infiltrate them, why we can't trust other people to keep our kids safe. So a whole book on a whole chapter on what we call enablers and why they don't get
Hmm.
involved. Pedophiles are very, very, manipulative and orchestrated, so they will, like, you know, if they're running an operation where they're
Hmm.
abusing boys, they will hire somebody that they know is desperate for their job, that kind of thing, and that person decides to stay silent because they have their own kids to feed, you know.
Hmm.
So it's really, really complex. So yeah, this book, they're both available on Amazon and Chapters, Barnes and Noble. Yeah, and then I have a podcast as well, Wednesday mornings at 8 Mountain Time on Facebook. It's called Reality Bites, and I just
Hmm.
psychoeducational pieces meant to support male survivors. And that's
Yes. And these books are also available on your website, right? www.kellipalfy.com.
yep.
Okay. So once again, for our audience out there, so get Dr. Kelli Palfy's book. So we have Men Too, Unspoken Truths About Male Sexual Abuse, and Speaking the Truth in Love, A Mother's Guide to Keeping Her Son Safe. Both available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble, and also her website, www.kellipalfy.com. And she has a podcast as well called Reality Bites, available on Facebook every Wednesday morning, correct?
Mhm.
Yes. And it has been an awesome time with you, Dr. Kelly. Thank you for joining
Thank
us here today and speaking about this issue to
you.
our
Thank you.
audience today.
Thank you for this
Oh,
opportunity.
okay. And guys, let us open the pages and unravel the secrets of your personal odyssey. And I believe that your ink never runs dry. So go tell your story, you storyteller. And this is your host, Revan. And as we say it here at Readers Magnet, we share your story with the world. Bye now. Stay awesome.